The Sony PlayStation 4 is probably one of the most popular consoles around, and no matter if you're a diehard Sony fanboy or if you're in love with the Xbox, everyone is interested in what Sony is going to do for the eventual PlayStation 5. While nothing has been revealed officially, this hasn't stopped the leaks and rumors. Hey guys, ArcadeCloud here, and today we're counting down our list of the top 10 PS5 rumors that'll surprise you. If you're new to our channel, go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell. Give this video a thumbs up and share it with some friends. It's free. Number 10. Release date somewhere in 2020. It's pretty obvious that we're beginning to reach the point where the current generation of consoles are reaching their peaks when it comes to what they can actually do, which means we should start to expect the next generation to release relatively soon. When exactly? Well, analysts and leaks seem to suggest that we'll see a PlayStation 5 as early as 2019 or 2020. They seem to think that Sony will continue to sell the PS4 as their main console as long as it sells well, and the moment we see the sales start to go down, they'll release their next generation console. That means if sales start to drop towards the end of 2018, we'll see a new console in 2019, and if they start to drop in 2019, we'll probably see something new in 2020. Number 9. The Last of Us Part 2 might be a launch title. Pretty much everyone is hyped up for The Last of Us Part 2. Even people who don't have a PlayStation device are interested in how the next game in the series is going to end up. Because of how anticipated this title is, and because of the fact that it's coming out in 2019 at some point, according to the composer of the game, Gustavo Santaolalla, people are expecting that the game will come out on a next-gen console. In other words, it would be a PS5 launch title. At the very least, if the game comes out right at the end of the PS4's run, it would be pretty likely to release on the PS5 as well to have a much wider appeal. Number 8. It may have a full discrete graphics card rather than an APU. If I said the next generation of PlayStation console was likely to have a full discrete GPU, then you might not know what that actually means. A discrete GPU is a graphics chip that is completely separate from the main computer processing unit, which lets it process graphics more efficiently because that's all the piece of hardware has to do. If the PS5 had a discrete GPU, like the ones often seen in PC gaming, then the console would most likely be able to deliver a true 4K 60fps experience on all games, and might even boost PSVR performance. While the PS4 Pro can already run certain games at that resolution and frame rate, the PS5 would make it the standard for all games. Number 7. The Dualshock 5 controller might have some form of HD rumble. A new PlayStation will more than likely bring some new controllers, so what can we expect from a new Dualshock 5? While the buttons and gyroscope controls are likely going to stay, most people think that Sony are going to include some variation of the HD rumble system. This innovation came out first on the Switch with the Switch's Joy-Cons and Pro Controller. It's essentially just an advanced haptic feedback system which was coined HD rumble by Nintendo, but could be called anything in Sony's model. It allows people to sense the most minute of things through the controller, and it's pretty likely that Sony will adopt the technology in some form. Number 6. It will probably be more powerful than the Xbox One X in order to compete in the 4K market better. Obviously, without any official specs revealed about the console, we can't speculate on how powerful it will be too much, but if it wants to compete in the current 4K market, then it will definitely have to be stronger than the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro. And that's sort of been the trend with game consoles. They tend to get more and more powerful as the years go on. Currently, the Xbox One X is the most powerful console to ever have been built, featuring an 8-core 2.3 GHz CPU, 12 GB of GDDR5 memory split between RAM and actual GPU power, and even a GPU that has 40 compute units that operate at around 1172 MHz. For those who have no idea what any of that means, the Xbox One X is basically a mid-range gaming PC, with a bunch of clever software and hardware tricks to get the maximum potential out of the system. If the PS5 has any hope of competing with that in a modern 4K world, then it has to be even stronger and even faster, or at least on par. But for next generation, we would expect better. Number 5. It will have a 4K Blu-ray player built in. One thing that the PS4 Pro lacked, for some reason, was a built-in 4K Blu-ray player. While streaming is becoming more and more popular with audiences, it's still clear that consumers like to actually physically own discs. One way that Sony could entice more people to buy their new console would be to make it also a 4K Blu-ray player. Part of the reason the PS2 sold so well was because it was also a DVD player. The PS3 and the PS4 can both play Blu-ray discs, but the Xbox One X can already play 4K Blu-ray movies. Considering it was Sony who spearheaded the reveal of the first Blu-ray prototypes way back in October of 2000, it's pretty embarrassing for them to be behind on the tech now 18 years later. Number 4. GTA 6 is rumored to be a launch title. At the moment, everyone knows that Rockstar Games is getting ready to release their next big thing, and that is Red Dead Redemption 2, the sequel to the much-loved cowboy shooter Red Dead Redemption. But that game is coming out on the current generation of consoles, so what about the future? If next-gen consoles start coming out in the next couple of years, then I guess we could see Rockstar do something similar to what they did with GTA 5. They could just upgrade the graphics of Red Dead Redemption 2 2 and then push it to the PS5. But certain rumors say different, that the next Grand Theft Auto game is already in development and that GTA 6 will be coming to the PS5 on launch. I mean, think about it, GTA 5 was in development for 5 years and it's already been 5 years since that game released. If the PS5 actually does release around 2020, that means GTA could have been in development for 7 years since the last one, making it into a true masterpiece. Number 3. It might be a modular system that's upgradable into the future, like a gaming PC, rather than releasing multiple models. Modular consoles haven't exactly done well in the past. I mean, look at the Sega Genesis. When it came to that console, something called the 32X and something called the Sega CD were brought to the market, which were basically modular add-ons for the game console. They were designed to increase the power of the Genesis and would allow certain companies to develop in 32-bit and on CD technology until the release of the Sega Saturn. While the add-ons were received positively at launch, reception to it soured as time went on and people began to have a growing distaste for the console due to its lacking power and lack of games in comparison to newer consoles. Plus the fact that it just looked absolutely disgustingly ugly when you had a 32X and a Sega CD on it. It looked like a mess. I don't think Sony would do that. I think they would just make parts that would be able to be removed and then replaced with newer parts. With the PS5, a modular design could be something completely different. One of the benefits of owning a PC over a console is that you can constantly upgrade it as new parts become available, allowing gamers to consistently stay ahead of games in terms of power. That way you don't have to buy a new console every couple of years, you can just buy a new CPU or GPU, maybe some more RAM. If the PS5 became a completely modular system, then players could swap out parts instead of having to completely buy new consoles when upgrades were available, which could end up being even cheaper over time than if you were to just straight up buy something new every 10 or so years. A modular PS5 could usher in a completely new form of console gaming, one that could finally even beat a PC, as long as they implement keyboard and mouse support, because that's kind of important. Number 2. PS4 backwards compatibility is likely. It's no surprise if I tell you that the PS4 has sold really well since it was first released, completely outdoing the Xbox One. One of the only things that the PS4 failed to do was have proper backwards compatibility. Sure, the Xbox One didn't really do it at first either, but as time has progressed, more and more old 360 games have been made available for Xbox One players. One of the questions on everyone's mind is whether the PS5 will allow players to use their PS4 games on the console. Considering how much backlash Sony got for not introducing backwards compatible content on the PS4, it's safe to say that the company has likely learned from their mistakes, and many analysts believe that the PS5 basically has to offer backwards compatibility so that all PS4 games work on the machine at launch. It's not like Sony don't know how to do this, because on the launch of the PlayStation 3, you could play all PlayStation 2 games on the console, and PS1 games too. If they could do backwards compatibility then there's absolutely no reason they can't do it again now, and the PlayStation community would probably be pretty mad if they didn't. Number 1. It might be a hybrid console, or Sony may be delving back into handheld soon. The overwhelming success of the Nintendo Switch has gotten everyone talking. The head of Sony's corporate planning had revealed that Sony can't simply ignore the Nintendo Switch considering how much attention it's captured from consumers. Does it mean that Sony is going to release a new handheld console? Probably not, because outside of the Japanese market, the Vita pretty much crashed and burned on launch. Does it mean that we could see something similar to the Switch in the form of a hybrid console? Maybe. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time Sony will have taken some design influence from Nintendo. Who could forget Sony's motion controller that looked and behaved almost exactly like the Nintendo Wii controller? I wouldn't be against a hybrid console from Sony. I mean, imagine playing awesome games like The Last of Us Part 2 or GTA 6 not just at home, but on your way to work or on a plane trip. Probably not as the main console, but as a separate console that could play like lesser versions of the games. Obviously, you can't pack the power of a full console that takes up, some shelf space into a tiny thing that you can hold in your hands just yet, but, we can dream, right? And there you have it, our list of the top 10 PS5 rumors that will surprise you. Do you agree? Did we miss something? Let us know in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe for more great videos from ArcadeCloud on Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Take care and game on.